So here we're going to show you gradient mesh, and the mesh tool is right here in the toolbar window. It looks like this square with some lines through it. And the purpose of this tool is to be able to put axis points within a shape and select those points and give those different values, and they blend between each other. So let me start off by, I already have a shoe sketched out here just real quick and rough just to kind of show you how I'm going to start contouring this and giving it some three-dimensional form. And what I want to do is I'm going to take this shape here. One of the things you want to do is you want to make sure you have a duplicate copy of whatever you're using, because once you apply this mesh tool function, you won't be able to go back and reuse it. So if I want to change this to a red color later on, I won't be able to do that with this mesh tool. So the mesh that I'm going to create is going to go on top of this form, and I'm going to put a multiply to it so you'll be able to see through it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with my duplicate shape, and I'm going to create a rectangle around this. And let's get rid of the color. Let's make it a different color. Let's go ahead and multiply it. Now we'll be able to see our form behind. So with this, you're going to want to try to get this shape as close to the shoe as possible. So I'm going to rotate with my R tool, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these points and try to get them as close to the object I'm working with as possible, and you'll see why in a second. And then what I'm going to do is grab my anchor point, and I'm going to add in a couple points, and then I'm going to adjust those points and just kind of making sure, I'm using a lot of hotkeys here, bouncing back and forth. So let's go ahead and I'm just going to expand all of these quickly first. And then with my selection tool, just go and kind of move these around. And now that I have my outer shape close, and the reason I'm doing this is to minimize the amount of points I have, because when you make this gradient mesh, it really gives you some funky shapes. So by reducing the amount of shapes, amount of points, it'll create smoother shapes. So let's go ahead and add a point, and you can add as many as you want or as little as you want. Just all depends on how much control you want to have. And you can always add these points later on. You can add additional ones if you feel you need another one in here, for example. So let's start off with this. Now, this is the cool part. So we have this color here, and if I go ahead and make this, let's use our our selection tool and select the whole object. I'm going to make this like a darker color, just because I want to be able to have my shadows that are multiplied right now affect any color that's behind. So I'm going to pick this kind of a gray, 80% gray color. So that'll be my deepest, darkest color for the shadow. Now, with your direct selection tool, you can go and select and hold down Shift now and select a couple points here, and this is where I'm gonna have like a little highlight running in through this area here. So I'm gonna take those points and change them to white. And now you can see when your layer is multiplied, you are exposing the color that's from below. And I can even add a little bit more brightness or lightness to that. I don't have to go to pure white, but I can have this transition smoothly from white to a 45% gray to your 80% gray. And I could even go ahead and make these ones down there even darker and go full black, and you get a really nice dark rich corner. So hold Shift down. You can grab a bunch of them at the same time, bunch of points at the same time. So now another thing that's cool is with this tool is you can actually move these points around and really get some. You can fine tune your shading and your blending controls here just by moving these. You can pull these. I want the white to extend further back and a little bit lower here. So you could just start manipulating these shapes. Oops. And start to set the curvature of your form as well. You can get your form to kind of have a nicer curve in here. So you really have a lot of control with these points. And like I said, if you want to add in another row here, we can just select our shape and then go and select your mesh tool and then just click on one of these lines here. You can, wherever you want that intersection point to happen, and it'll throw that in there for you. So this is kind of a basic idea, but what you can see now is we have this outer shape that doesn't look really good. So we want to mask, and the way you mask is we can drop that shape behind, take the shape we've created, and with your object clipping mask we can make the mask. So now you're only seeing the shape that you want to see. You won't see any of the parts that are extending out in here. And then with you grab one of the points, drag it up to its corresponding point. It should snap, and there you go. You have your shape with some shadows and highlights that you added with this gradient mesh tool. So this was just a quick demonstration on how to do that, to give your form a little bit of highlight and curvature, but it really adds that realism factor. So this is a tool I use a lot to give my objects the realism that I'm looking for.